It happened 2 years ago, but I still can't walk into a dark classroom without feeling that tight, sick fear in my throat. It was a Wednesday afternoon, around 2:10, right after lunch. I was in Mr. Carter's history class, second floor, east wing of our high school. It was one of those boring post-lunch slogs where everyone's half asleep. Heads propped on their hands when the intercom crackled. The voice was metallic, urgent, lockdown. This is not a drill. Everyone froze. Even Mr. Carter, who usually had that unshakable, calm teacher voice, just stood there for a second before rushing to the door and turning the lock. The click of it sounded way too loud in the sudden absolute silence. He motioned for us to move his voice, a sharp whisper. Back of the room. Quiet. There were about 20 of us. We all scrambled, crouching behind the heavy cabinets and lab tables, hearts pounding against our ribs. The only light came from the thin slits of the blinds, casting pale, dusty stripes across the linoleum floor. I remember a girl's phone buzzed once. A single, sharp vibration that made everyone glare daggers at her until she fumbled to silence it. The air was thick with unspoken terror. The first 10 minutes were silent, except for the occasional thud of footsteps in the hallway. They sounded slow, careful, not the kind of rushed, heavy steps of a teacher or an officer, but measured, like someone was trying not to be heard. That's when Mr. Carter whispered, his eyes wide, "Everyone into the supply closet." Now, the closet was barely big enough for 10 people, let alone all of us. But we crammed in knees against boxes, backs pressed to brooms, sharp smell of old paper and cleaning chemicals stinging our noses. It was completely dark. I was shoved near the door, close enough to see the tiniest sliver of light from the hallway through the bottom crack. For a while, it was dead quiet again, just the sound of our own ragged breathing. Then came another sound. It was faint at first, like soft breathing from just outside the classroom. Then a voice, Mr. Carter. It sounded exactly like one of our administrators, Ms. Larkin. Her tone was low, cautious, but calm. "It's safe now. You can come out." A wave of relief started to wash over me, but Mr. Carter didn't move a muscle. He put a finger to his lips and mouthed the words, "Asterisk, stay quiet, asterisk." A long pause followed. The silence stretched, pulling tighter and tighter. Then the voice spoke again, closer this time, right outside our classroom door. "Mr. Carter, it's over. You can open the door now." There was something off about it. The rhythm was wrong, like she was reading from a script. The words were spaced out, flat and hollow. Then came the sound of footsteps, stopping right outside the closet door. My breath caught in my throat, and I held it so hard my lungs started to ache. "I know you're in there," the voice said softly. It didn't sound like Ms. Larkin anymore. It sounded like something asterisk trying asterisk to sound like her, but there was a drag at the end of each word. A strange, wet whisper that made my skin crawl and the hair on my arms stand up. No one moved. The girl next to me started shaking, a silent, violent tremor. Then it said my name. At first I thought I'd imagined it, a trick of my panicked mind. But then it came again, perfectly clear, almost playful. "Mia, open the door." Every muscle in my body locked up. I was frozen. No one in that closet dared to breathe. The voice started repeating my name, softly, rhythmically, like a broken record. "Mia, Mia, Mia." Then it switched. It started saying someone else's name, then another. It was going through our class list, as if it was reading right from the attendance sheet. Mia, Ben, Claire, Tyler. Each name came slower, deeper, as if whoever or whatever was outside was pressing its mouth right against the crack in the closet door. We could almost feel the vibration of its words. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the footsteps began to fade away. The voice stopped. All that was left was the low hum of the building's air conditioning. We stayed there, crammed in the suffocating darkness, for almost 20 minutes before Mr. Carter finally decided to check. He moved with agonizing slowness, motioning for me to stay absolutely still as he cracked the closet door just an inch. The hallway was empty. The lights were flickering like they always did, buzzing faintly. Everything looked normal. He whispered for us to stay put, and then slipped out of the closet and into the classroom. The rest of us sat in the dark, tense and shaking, until the official all-clear announcement sounded about 10 minutes later. When we finally got out, police officers were walking through the halls, checking rooms. Mr. Carter spoke to them quietly, his voice too low for me to hear. But later I overheard one of the officers talking to another teacher down the hall. "We never sent anyone down that hall," he said, his voice firm. The admin office was in lockdown the whole time. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the sound of that voice, the way it said my name like it already knew me, like we were old friends. I told my parents what happened, and they tried to rationalize it. Said maybe it was just a cruel prank, some student trying to scare us. But they didn't hear it. They didn't feel the cold dread that voice carried with it. The next morning, school was closed. The official email said it was to review safety protocols. A week later, we went back. Everything seemed normal again, except for one thing. When I got to my desk in Mr. Carter's class, there was a sticky note sitting on top of my history notebook. It was a plain yellow square. No one else's desk had one. It's just mine. In neat, slanted handwriting, it said, "You were the only one who listened." I showed it to Mr. Carter. He went pale, his face draining of all color. He took the note, crumpled it in his fist, and told me to throw it away and not to talk about it ever again. I did. But sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet, I still hear that same whisper from the hallway of my dreams, dragging out my name, soft and slow. And every single time I wake up in a cold sweat before I can finish the last syllable, because I know what comes after that, the sound of a door handle turning. Thanks for listening to my story. If you have a true scary story of your own, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more chills. Stay safe out there.